We all remember the Trump era like it was yesterday, because damn near it was. His presidency inspired a lot of arguments with family members. Now, my next guest had a complicated relationship with his white mother. He's black. 5 years ago, he outed her political views on a public platform with an article. The title of the piece is called "How Trump Ruined My Relationship with My White Mother." Take a listen.
And so what made you decide to share that personal information with the world?
You know, I think it was hurt. It was frustration. I was coming off of a visit with my mother where literally we delved so far into political differences, and it just, I had conversations I've never had with my mother before at the time, and it caused a lot of pain. And I'm a writer, and what do writers do? We write. That's a way of exercising some of the feelings and things that we had. I didn't expect it to be a thing. You know, I just wrote the article to get it out, but it ended up becoming way more of a thing than I realized, because apparently more people were dealing with similar instances in their own families than I was prepared, than I expected, I should say.
And sharing that information, did you have any reservation whatsoever? You said, okay, I'm going to take this next step now and put family business out there in the public. Did you have any reservations before doing it?
At the time, no. You know, I'm a personal writer. I tend to write a lot about my family. I'd never written anything that controversial that was going to be received negatively by a member of my family. But I didn't have any doubt. In fact, I wrote it. It was edited, it was published, and I moved on. That's how much of how normal it was to do something like that for me. It just wasn't, I didn't expect anything else other than it to be out there and to move on.
But it was like a dark cloud over your head for those 5 years. How did your mom react to that? And your mom is white, originally from France, I think, right?
Yes.
And so, your dad?
My dad is a black man from Alabama, as I like to say.
So when your mom read this article, how did she react to you? And what did she tell you once it was made public? That, number one, it painted a picture of her being a Trump supporter, not being able to understand her black son.
Yes. When she finally was made aware of it, which didn't happen immediately, for the record, and this is on me, I didn't even tell my mother I wrote the article, right? We weren't speaking to each other, which is part of why I wrote the article. Like, I didn't have anything else to say. So I actually, a significant amount of time went by before she saw it, because I had just kind of decided to let it go. And she found it through social media. When she saw it, she was incensed. She texted me that I was a coward for not telling her. She was very hurt. She was very frustrated. And she was really hurt a lot because I wrote a lot about our family. You know, I have children. She's a grandmother. And I think some of the things that I wrote hurt her because they were effectively saying she was not going to have access to her grandchildren anymore. I was making a decision to remove the rest of my family from what I felt was dangerous rhetoric or dangerous, I don't know, just...
Do you
she
think
was more hurt by
in
that?
Some form or fashion was lashing out at your mother because she just would not hear you otherwise?
Yeah, that's how she felt. That's probably what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And, you know, to be fair, like, I don't know that I would do it the same way again. I mean, I wouldn't do it the same way again. I do think the message that was in the article was important, because I do think it needed to be, a lot of us are dealing with that. When you have various political ideologies and families, especially of mixed race families, where you get, you know, you find out what you don't know over time and people's opinions change. And then all of a sudden it comes to a head and it's just a mess for all of us. And I think that's probably what got exposed more than anything. But for her, I think she was as frustrated and as hurt as I was on the other side when she finally saw the article.
Now, your mom is no longer here with us. Did you guys reconcile before she passed?
We did. She passed recently in February of 2022, and we were able to reconcile. In fact, probably in 2019 or maybe 2020, soon after the pandemic, we hadn't seen each other while we hadn't talked. She did come and visit me. I live in Washington, D.C., and we had an opportunity to talk. Probably almost 2 years since we had last seen each other. We got an opportunity to talk and air some things out. And it wasn't perfect, We definitely started moving in the right direction, but we got much better over time. We were able to get back to mother and son.
And of course, many people can hear that story in your podcast at the Griot. For those who missed the first episode last week, where can they find that? And I know you have another episode addressing this very issue Thursday. Tell us about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're interested in hearing the story, it's available at the Dear Culture podcast. My podcast is titled Dear Culture. It's one of the Griot's podcasts at our Griot Black Podcast Network. The first episode is effectively a retelling of how I got to the point where I wrote this article in the first place, kind of our own history and how we got to this place. The second episode, which airs this Thursday, is what happened after. And the podcast is available everywhere you get your podcast.